What needs to be done in order to win with precision is simply to make the proper moves. It is as easy and as difficult as that. Only the moves count. My present attitude, my childhood past, whether I've eaten or not, whether I'm loved or not, in the mood or out, it all comes down to making the proper moves.
Welcome to Philosopher Insights, the podcast that delivers wisdom in minutes a day that you can put into practice daily and strive to master over a lifetime.
The podcast committed to sharing ideas that encourage you to bridge the gap between who you are today and the person you aspire to be in the future.
Hi, my name is Herb Lamba, and welcome to my podcast, where I will share practical insights from the world's best authors.
Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. The quest to become the best version of you starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Philosopher Insights. My name is Herb Lamba. Today, we're taking a look at constructive living. Outgrow shyness, depression, fear, stress, grief, chronic pain, and achieve the goal of constructive living, to do everything well. The author of this book is David K. Reynolds. The book is published way back in 1984. I wanted to share a number of my favorite insights, starting with pay attention, the principles of constructive living, reality, it simply is, now what needs to get done, living until we die, chess and life, and then finish it off with the challenge. So let's begin with the introduction. Quote, constructive living presents a valuable alternative to emotional-centered living with all its ups and downs, all its uncontrollability. You will find there is a way to be sure of winning the game of everyday life. The point I wish to make about constructive living are not especially valuable simply because I wrote them. They are valuable because they are the distilled wisdom of human beings in diverse cultures over hundreds of years. I am in no way remarkable. The most accurate thing that can be said about me is that I am changeable. So are you. From situation to situation, from minute to minute, and even within the same time period and place, we have multiple identities that shift and flow in a complex dance of variation. There are no neurotics or geniuses or failures or fools. There are only neurotic moments, flashes of brilliance, failed opportunities, and stupid mistakes. But these moments, pleasant or unpleasant, can never fix us into rigid, immutable characters. We cannot help but change. The book is about choosing the direction of your changingness and acting upon your choice, end quote. All right, let's dive into this book about living life more constructively. The big takeaway? We can't control how we feel, but we're always in charge of how we act. Pretty powerful stuff, right? Now don't let the slim size of this book fool you. This little 120-pager is bursting with insights. It's a quick read, but man, it certainly packs a punch. I really enjoyed the book, and let's begin with my first insight. Insight number 1, pay attention. Quote, discomforting information is only discomforting when it gets through the filters of awareness and pops up in the middle of the spotlight of consciousness. In other words, we only hurt when we notice that we are hurting. The same goes for thoughts. When you don't focus on your depressed thoughts and feelings, you're not depressed, end quote. Okay, so Reynolds is all about awareness, which, by the way, is one of my absolute favorite concepts when it comes to self-improvement. Now here's the deal with this. If we want to live a more positive life, step 1 is getting real with ourselves about all the negative stuff swirling around in our heads and the not so great actions we're taking. It's like shining a spotlight on our own BS. Constructive living isn't about wallowing in that negativity. No, it's about catching ourselves in those moments and then actively choosing to redirect our focus. Quote, the goal is not to ignore or suppress feelings, but to accept them as they happen to be at the moment, and then get on with doing what is sensible and mature anyway, end quote. Let's focus on you for just a moment. Do you catch yourself stuck on negative thoughts, replaying them endlessly while sitting on the couch, instead of taking constructive action? It's definitely worth diving into, because once you learn to focus on constructive actions, handling your emotions gets way easier. You'll develop this awesome superpower that lets you get stuff done, no matter how you're feeling in the moment. Remember, it's not about the feeling, it's about the actual accomplishment you're after. Here is my absolute favorite quote from this book. Quote, the mature human being goes about doing what needs to be done, regardless of whether that person feels great or terrible. Knowing that you are the kind of person with that kind of self-control brings all the satisfaction and confidence you will ever need. Even on days when the satisfaction and confidence just aren't there, you can get the job done anyway, end quote. A killer life isn't built on feelings. It's built on showing up and crushing what needs to get done, even when you'd rather binge Netflix. If we only acted when we felt like it, we'd never accomplish squat. That's real talk. I'd probably never work out if I waited for motivation to magically appear. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. This mindset shift is like unlocking a secret level in the game of life. Once you start doing instead of feeling, watch out, world. You'll be unstoppable. It's not about waiting for the mood to strike. It's about striking while the iron is lukewarm and getting it done anyway. Quote, What I do now is me and molds who I will become tomorrow. Make no mistake, there is no other time. End quote. Your life's a clay block. Today's actions are your sculpting tools. Binge watch TV? You're molding a Netflix expert. Work on your goals or learn skills? You're crafting the future you want. Each choice shapes tomorrow's you. Insight number 2. Constructive living principles. Here are the 5 principles of constructive living. 1. Quote, feelings are uncontrollable directly by the will. End quote. So you can't force yourself to feel anything. So trying to think your way into constant happiness is a total waste of time. Seriously, it's like trying to catch the wind. Focus on actions, not feelings. Number 2, quote, feelings must be recognized and accepted as they are. End quote. Now, simply put here, you can't control your feelings if you aren't responsible for them. The best strategy is to accept them and try to learn from them. Number 3, quote, every feeling, however unpleasant, has its uses. End quote. Now, every feeling has a purpose. Instead of trying to judge them, simply try to learn from them. Pleasant or unpleasant, your feelings have a meaning. Number 4, quote, feelings fade in time unless they are re-stimulated. End quote. Now, I love this one because it is essential to recognize that our feelings won't last forever. Even the most painful feelings in life shall pass. Number 5, quote, feelings can be directly influenced by behavior. End quote. Now, that is pure gold. You can use your actions to create the feelings you want and lessen the ones you don't. Positive actions can totally influence your emotions. Remember this key point. In life, your growth will match what you do. Insight number 3, reality. It simply is. Quote, the first step to changing reality is to recognize it as it is now. There is no need to wish it were otherwise. It simply is. Pleasant or not, it is. Then comes behavior that acts on the present reality. Behavior can change what is. End quote. You see, accepting reality as it is doesn't mean you have to like it. It simply means you acknowledge the facts without sugarcoating or ignoring them. This is a critical first step because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Wishing things were different is often a form of escapism. It can prevent you from taking the necessary actions to improve your situation. By accepting reality, you free yourself from the paralysis of wishing and start focusing on what you can do. Insight number 4, now what needs to be done. Quote, now what needs to be done. End quote. So, I picked up this game-changing question from the Optimized Coach program. You know those moments when life's throwing curveballs and nothing's clicking. That's when I love circling back to this gem. All right, now what needs to be done? It's like hitting the reset button on your brain. If you want to level up your life, get into the habit of accepting the situation and then just doing what needs to be done. This reminds me of Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, where he says, quote, know that wherever you are in your life right now is both temporary and exactly where you're supposed to be. You have arrived at this moment to learn what you must learn, so you can become the person you need to be to create the life you truly want. Even when life is difficult or challenging, especially when life is difficult and challenging, the present is always an opportunity for us to learn, grow, and become better than we've ever been before. End quote. The moment is now. It's what we do with each and every moment in our lives that matters. So wherever you find yourself in life today, let me ask you a very simple question. Now what needs to be done? Insight number 5, living until we die. Quote, constructive living, in addition to training us for daily living, is part of our training for the moments of dying. We are living, after all, even while dying. We have considered the need to pay attention to life rather than merely passing through it. The necessity of living instead of just putting in the time. Living is rather like driving along a freeway. There are lane shifts, periods of braking, accelerating, turn indicators, defensive drivers. Attention, all attention. Constructive living is about paying attention to the flow of traffic, about fitting one's driving to the reality that presents itself. Dying, too, heading for the proper off-ramp, downshifting, maneuvering so that you exit smoothly without disrupting the flow of traffic. Constructive living is developing skill at driving even onto the off-ramp of life. End quote. I just love that. Dying is neither good nor bad. It is part of the life journey, and it's all about where we place our attention along the way. I once heard about a great conversation between a celestial figure and a nobleman. What is the most surprising thing in the world? A celestial figure asks the nobleman. The nobleman replies, day after day, man sees countless people die, but still he acts and thinks as if he will live forever. So if you want to crush this whole living well thing, you've got to get cozy with purpose and awareness. It's like putting on your superhero cape every single morning. Remember, tomorrow's not guaranteed. It's not Amazon Prime, you can just order it up. So, wake up each day like you're starring in your own epic movie. Insight number 6, chess and life. Quote, What needs to be done in order to win with precision is simply to make the proper moves. It is as easy and as difficult as that. Only the moves count. My present attitude, my childhood past, whether I've eaten or not, whether I'm loved or not, in the mood or out, it all comes down to making the proper moves." End quote. Now that's the thing about chess. When you strip it down to the basics, it's all about the next move. Life is pretty similar. You make a move, see what happens, and then respond. As long as you keep taking purposeful steps toward a better life, life moves with you. Insight number 7, the challenge. Quote, "We are impatient. We want solutions now. Courses of action that take months or years to bring about change just aren't acceptable. We want instant judo, weekend enlightenment, 10-day tours of the Orient, accelerated degree programs, fast foods, 50-minute television specials, brief news reports, condensed books, and so on. The quick divorce, the speeding driver, compulsory promotion of the slow learner, planned obsolescence, over-medication, all are examples of potential danger resulting from our obsession with the quick result." End quote. This idea has been spoken about in many books, and I was immediately reminded of one of my favorites, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Quote, "Can you imagine a nation born in 2 hours, meeting the person who will become the love of your life, the dating, courtship, romance, struggle, triumph, wedding, and happy life thereafter in 2 hours? Of course not. We expect to put out the effort of a 30-second falling in love sequence or fighter in training sequence and get that same heroic ending. In a world filled with instant coffee, instant breakfast, instant credit, instant shopping, instant information, and 24/7 news, we have become dangerously close to losing touch with reality and believing we have access to an instant life. But life is not a clickable link." End quote. It seems like people are losing touch with reality. What happened to valuing the long-term grind and patience needed to build your dream life? Nowadays, if something takes real effort, it's quickly labeled impossible or not worth it. Everyone wants overnight success, forgetting to embrace the journey. Where's the appreciation for the process? Quote, "But this mastery of life grows slowly, painfully, and only with effort. It requires attention, patience, self-discipline, honesty. It asks you to face your feelings, pleasant or unpleasant, to check on your purposes, large and small, to guide your own behavior, whatever pain, in constructive directions. It advises you that when you fail, you must try again and again. It is in that very exertion, in that strain toward impeccability, that the suffering self is lost and a triumphant lifestyle is gained." End quote. Now, if you remember one thing from this great book, let it be that your behavior is the only thing you can control in life. You can't control others, and you can't always control your feelings, but you can control your actions. From today onward, commit to the actions you'll take. Your consistency and truth are found in what you do. That's the heart of constructive living. It's all about taking action. Whether you succeed or fail, there's always something to do next. No matter what life throws at you, there's always an opportunity to improve. That is my quick look at my favorite insights from this wonderfully inspiring book, Constructive Living by David K. Reynolds. Until next time, remember to stay curious and keep embracing the wonders of knowledge. Talk to you soon. You've been listening to Philosopher Insights with your host, Herb Lambert. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.